if there was an association of terrorists in the world, you know, the way we have an association of auctioneers and so on and so forth, I think they would be laughing at Kenya. In fact, they would beat up Boniface Mwangi. They would say he's such a stupid terrorist. Because which terrorist wakes up one morning and decides that one of the implements that you want to use is a tear gas canister? You know, a tear gas canister is supposed to disperse people. So you disperse people and then you don't cause maximum damage. The idea behind terrorism is to cause maximum damage. So I have never seen any terrorist anywhere on the face of the earth who uses a tear gas canister, because it haribu the whole idea of terrorism. So wherever terrorists are outside the world, they are disappointed in Boniface Mwangi. They are saying he's not a good terrorist. They are saying he's not a qualified terrorist. They are saying he's a fake terrorist. He is actually laughable as a terrorist. In fact, if terrorists find him, I think they would punish him, because he's using a tear gas canister
instead of using bombs
away people. No, you know, a terrorist wants to cause maximum damage. Actually, he would want to attack and kill the highest number of people. But Boniface Mwangi is this unconventional terrorist who first makes sure he scatters people and he bombs the place. So he doesn't qualify. The terrorists in the world are disappointed with him. You remember, he mistakenly blame Ford Foundation. Wakamaliza ku blame Ford Foundation, they started blaming Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Actually, they blamed him for everything that used to happen in this country until he left the country and lived in the US for a very long time. They realized now you can't blame Uhuru anymore. They said now the problem is Rigathi Gachagua. He is destabilizing government from inside. They even impeached him. I thought that after impeaching Rigathi Gachagua, the things will be stable, things will be perfect. Yeye ndio alikuwa anazuia barabara zijengwe, stima ipatikane. They impeached Rigathi Gachagua. Things continued going haywire. So he went now, he started blaming, I've had the president blaming the churches. The same churches now that were supporting him. Now he's saying, apana, ni nyinyi mapasta, ni nyinyi mareverend. Once he was done blaming the churches, he realized this thing is not working. Now he decided to blame the parents. Now he has blamed the parents. President Ruto blames everybody else other than himself. And the day he will realize that blaming other people is not going to make things work in this country, he will stop blaming people. So there is nobody who has failed this nation other than the president himself. Otherwise he will blame everybody else around him. He will fire everybody else around him when he'll discover the problem is him.
He spoke and said the problem with the president is that he thinks that people are being paid to show that they are tired of him.
For me, it is more than standing with Boniface Mwangi. I was standing with the 2010 Constitution. I was standing with democracy. I was standing with freedom to free speech. I was standing with freedom of young people and old people to associate. And the president should not be worried about those young people he's seeing on the streets. Those are a fraction of the number of people who are demonstrating. President Ruto, let me tell you, there are so many people who are demonstrating in their houses. They sit ferociously. Sazila naona mawe ikirushwa. They say, I am disappointed in this young guy. I wish he threw a bigger one. They see things happening on the streets and they wish they had the energy of youth to do twice more than what our young people are doing. What the president should be worried more about is those silent people who are demonstrating in their hearts and who will carry their ballot as the only sure weapon. Now wataikast na fujo venye hamjaiona. They will throw that ballot into that box saying it is a big protest vote against William Samoei Ruto. So he should be worried more. There are so many other Kenyans who don't support him and are not with him. And let me make you understand this. I don't know whether you've realized that saying one term is so spontaneous that people sometimes meet even in a bar and they meet even in a marathon, they start saying one term. Have you ever seen people saying two term if they have not been gathered together na kuna tents na chairs? Two term only happens where there is an MP telling people this, sitting them down and reminding them that they want to give William Ruto another term. I have never seen a spontaneous two-term. I have never seen people in a club telling the DJ, stop the music, let us play. Ata akunanga song ya two-term. That's what now the president needs. Akunanga song ya two-term. Akunanga kitu spontaneous. Yani, that would show you that Kenyans have decided they want to give President Ruto another term. So, and one thing he needs to do is to become magnanimous. Kama MP fulani yako hapa mahali Kiambu sitamtaja, yeye aliamka akasema mimi najua mnichagui tena. So he's not forcing it. Don't force it. When people tell you no, don't force it. Just tell them, thank you for the 5 years you're planning to give me.
Yeah.
Let me serve my 2 years. I'll leave the country to you.
You saw people online disappointed in Ishungo, for instance, when Ali make comments na incorporate Rigiji's wives as a kwa hiyo mix ya politics. So Buya, what do you read when sasa unaacha ku target the main character in this place, sasa umeendea wale ambao they are closer to his heart?
They say politics is dirty, but I think politicians make it more dirtier, because whatever Ichung'wah was saying was uncouth, for a lack of a better word. You will do anything to a politician, but don't target the kids and the spouse, because that's not where you draw the line. Once Ichung'wah brings in Pastor Dorcas, will Rigiji also bring in Ichung'wah's wife? And where would that end? Because I remember when Michelle was saying, when they go low, you go high. But at times in Kenyan's politics, people go so low, because whatever Ichung'wah was saying about Dorcas, when I heard it the first time, I actually didn't believe it, because I saw written comments, people saying he said this. I had to go and look for that video and confirm that it's not AI generated, because it was uncouth, it was uncalled for, to bring in a spouse of somebody just because he's a politician, because there are lots of things that people can say about Ichung'wah's wife, or lots of things that people can say about Ruto's kids, for example. But as a politician, you don't go to those lenses. You try and restrain yourself to the person you are focusing on. If it's Rigathi Gachagua, deal with Rigathi Gachagua.
I will not talk about Kimani Ichung'wah, and I will not talk about Rigiji and the wife issue.
The reason?
But I will speak about you and me. Can you imagine me nikuje nikwambie Igunza umekaliwa na wife yako? The question becomes, kwani wife yangu hana makalio anikalie niache kusikia vibaya? So what I think the ideal situation is, kama mimi nasikia vibaya wife ya Igunza amemkalia, nafaa kwenda kuambia wife yangu, kwani wewe una makalio hata wewe nikalie. So niache kusikia vibaya. I think that settles that issue.
Your design.
Then,
but is it too dirty a political game when it gets to that level?
This is the thing. I think, you see, I have always told people, sometimes we vote for the wrong things in the assumption that they are leaders. That's a person who should not have occupied leadership position in the first place, let alone leader of majority. It is wrong to go that far and attack a woman, especially a woman who has never attacked you or spoken ill of you or involved herself in mudslinging and so on and so forth. So that was wrong. That's why I'm saying, kama mimi naona vibaya bibi yako akikukalia, siniambie wangu wako na makalia nikalie hiyo story.
And by the way, in Africa,
this other story you asked about matatus, I think everybody else was not reading the name well. If you read that name well, it's doom. And it spells doom for the country. Because we have seen how those matatus have been driven. We have seen how they disrespect traffic laws. We have seen all sorts of things. We have seen that police have to look the other way when that matatu is coming, lest he's transferred to some place. Yes. So for me, I see doom. But I'm happy that young people also went there and put that sticker of Kasongo must go. I don't know whether you saw that. They said reject this. But also, what are we celebrating? The president says that he takes time to parent his children. I am not seeing children who've been well parented because their matatus are not respecting the traffic law. I think the best example the head of state would give us is to tell George, please tell your matatus to respect the traffic law. Tell them that when a policeman sees this matatu, he should see a matatu that is showing the country how to respect the traffic law. And I'm not talking of things, we all live in Nairobi. We see how they are driven. We see how they don't observe traffic lights. They don't observe the traffic law. So as he's telling parents to go and parent their children properly, I think he needs to put a mirror before himself and ask himself, are my children behaving the right way? Are their businesses, children of presidents across the world are leasing aircraft. Sai wangekuwa na lease aircraft to KQ. Ours is doing a matatu, a 20-seater matatu with very loud music and a DJ. It just tells you how low we have sunk in terms of our thinking. The only good thing is that it has made an immense contribution to the matatu culture and industry. I mean, a lot of money was spent on graffiti. Young people made money. Young people had a living out of being in that, because it's a whole industry. By the way, if you see how a matatu is built from scratch, it's a whole industry. That's the only beautiful celebratory thing about it.
The matatu is not following the law. That's the only issue, because you are the president's son. Now you think that you utakuja na matatu youths to stand up huko juu, they violating each and every non-traffic law that we have in the country. That's the only
walikuwa wamefunga seat belt wakiwa juu.
Imagine kama hiyo gari ingetoka huko watu wawili wafariki.
And it's happened before during those matatu.
It has happened before. Sasa president angeambia nini watu? Because and that's what we say, that this administration, they're in a hole but they continue digging. Because if something happened bad on that day, watu wangesema tu ni Kasongo, ni Ruto, they will not think it's Ben. Maybe even Ruto didn't know that Ben was doing whatever that was happening. But just follow the law. If the traffic laws dictate that you should do ABCD, just do what that law says. Nobody will have an issue with you. Because we have had matatus. These matatus are flying to Rongai, semekana ni za mtoto wa president, have had run-ins with the law. Paka police wanasema tutashika aje sasa. This is the matatus of the son of the commander in chief. Then how do you try and make sure that they follow the law?
Well, it's a good area to try and show that we can lead from the front.
But yes, but just follow the law.
Tulikuwa a very harsh critic of the government by the name of Baba a while back over the years.
Yes.
Baba akashikwa mkono akaingia kwa serikali, and we saw him the other day akisema niko na serikali mpaka mwaka ya 2027. He realized that. So they will be together. He will continue working with the Kenya Kwanza government until the year 2027, he said.
Baba has been in this government but has always shown his two sides. You see Junet praising the government, then you see Sifuna hitting at the government. You see Orengo hitting at the government, then you see Mopio and I praising the government. That is typical of what Baba wants out of Kenya Kwanza. He doesn't want to make President William Ruto be so comfortable to think that now he has, domiciled Baba, so that Baba has no future, maybe beyond 2027. And things might change. We might see Baba bolting out of this government, or we might see him supporting William Ruto, and that's what he wants. He wants to keep people gazing. I think depending with the mood of the Kenyans at that time, Baba has always, says he listens to the people. Depending with the mood of the people and how people tell him, he might bolt out of this government. But if he bolts and supports the opposition person, that will be okay. He might make Ruto a one-term president. But if he bolts and says he wants to vie, Ruto is going to come back as a second as a president.
President for the second time.
I must say one thing. I am looking at Baba today and I'm asking, he is in this government, but with who?
With the president.
Baba used to go into governments with people. Baba used to go into governments with the whole of Coast behind him. He used to go into government with the whole of Eastern behind him. He used to go into government with the whole of Gusii Nyanza behind him. He would go into government with the whole of the Nyanza, the Luo Nyanza and Western.
Yeah.
Western is not with the Baba, and Baba is in government. Kisii Nyanza is not with Baba, and Baba is in government. Half of Luo Nyanza, if not more, is not with Baba, and Baba is in government. The whole of Eastern, that used to be the whole of Ukambani that was with Baba, is not with Baba, and Baba is in government. The bulk of the coast that used to be with Baba is not with Baba, and Baba is in government. I think it's not a question of being in government. It's a question of being in government and bringing something to government. And the question becomes, how much have you brought into government, you being in government? And I can tell you from where I sit, right now, Baba has lost a huge and significant support that he used to have. And he has not got it in government. It's not the stake that he would present and say, William Ruto, this is what I'm bringing to you. But there's something very sad that Baba said during that interview. And I think this is what we need to discuss most. He said that this story of the voters register
should be done away with.
Should be done away with.
And we vote with our IDs.
And I would like to tell you something. If there is a fight we are going to put up in this country, it is a fight to retain the voters register. Hiyo kitu sio mzuri, inaweza haribu maneno hapa. You know, a voters register puts your name Igunza, puts it to a constituency. First it puts it in the country, then it ties it to a county, then it ties it to a constituency, all the way to the ward level, to a primary school in your place, and to a stream. Now when you don't have a voters register, it means that me as Fanyamambo Kinuthia, I can vote in Dagoretti South, vote in Dagoretti North in the afternoon, and if possible end up voting in Starehe in the evening, because my name is not on the voters register anywhere. All I need is my ID. This nation is about to be sunk into anarchy, and it's about to be sunk into anarchy by William Ruto and Baba, because you cannot say that we are not going to. How do we, when you come in the morning, how do they verify that you vote in that polling station if there is no register? How do we, the reason that we've had voters register is that has helped even members of parliament. As you do your campaign, you're able to know how many people are in your constituency. How do you know how many people are in your constituency if you don't have a voters register? How do you know who votes in your constituency if you don't have a voters register? Nime-challenge Kenyans sahi, enda uzue hii inaitwa chai, hii kahawa na kangumu na Burundi. Ukitumia Burundi pesa, inakuja jina ya Kenyan.
Ya Mkenya.
Na ni Mkenya wa sehemu fulani ya hii Kenya. You know, just go and try today. Mimi najua example, I'm being tribal. Go buy that kangumu and coffee from a Burundi today. Send them money on M-Pesa. Uone jina itakupatia nani. Na unasikia anaongea Kiburundi kabisa. They have been given a lot of ideas carelessly. Tulisikia the other day wakisema watakubalisha refugees and all other people coming from Somalia to be given IDs. And the people of Somali, don't get me wrong, Somalis who are Kenyans have a right to have an ID and to vote. Just like Masais who are Kenyans. You know, you also have Masais who are Tanzania. So let us not start bringing, you know, wanapenda hiyo ujinga ya ku-emotionalize kakitu.
Like trivialize.
Umeanza kusema wa Somali was, no! If you're a Kenyan Somali, get your ID. But if you're a Somali from Somalia, don't get an ID. So what we have now is a huge problem in this country, because what they are trying to do is they've realized they've lost Kenyans completely, and now they want to force themselves into power in 2027. We will vote, and there has to be a voters register.
The truth is that there is a reason why we have a voters register. And there's a reason as to why, for example, I have an ID as a Kenyan. And I should, you know, voting, it's not a must that for me being a Kenyan, I have to go and vote. You know, voting is not mandatory. You have to have done some things for you to be to earn that right to go and vote. And one of those things that you have to have done is to have registered as a voter in either constituency or a county or some certain ward. So if you are going to vote in Starehe, for example, I voted in Starehe. So how will I then be known to have gone to go and vote in Starehe? Can I just, because I have a voters register, an ID, can I go to Butula and vote? And then how would they now distinguish that I voted in Butula and I did not vote in Starehe? You know, it's going to bring a lot of confusion. I think Baba was just having some wild idea that he was, you know, throwing at Kenyans, but I doubt that can happen. We have gone through lots of political voting changes or electoral changes to accommodate such an idea at the moment. But for what Fanyamambo was saying, I think Baba is going to have it very rough even if he wants to vie again in 2020, because there have been those, you know, it's a cycle. You know, Baba joins government, then after 2 years you start hearing rumors he might vie. You hear stories on newspapers, you hear stories that are being done trying to suggest that Baba is might vie again. But I think this time round he has lost a considerable support that he has always traditionally had. For example, in Western Kenya, the ground is shifting, and it's shifting very quickly to an extent that Akina Halwale are finding it very difficult to sell UDA mantra in Kakamega, for example. In Busia, you can't sell UDM, injili huko. Ukijaribu UDA huko utafurushwa. You saw what was happening to MP Emase, Mary Emase, when he said that Baba ametuma salamu kwa watu. And people are like, no, don't bring that up. Baba. So the ground is shifting, and they are going to have a lot of hard time to convince people to go back on their side. The by-elections in Malava are going to be a litmus test. For the person who is going to win that by-election is going to have bragging rights at least for until 2027, and so I expect that both UDA, both Tawe Movement, Natembea, and the DAPK Kenya are going to invest heavily in Malava to try and show that this region is now we are taking over. Because as of now, Mudava does not have a party. He's going with UDA. As of now, Ford Kenya is not as popular in Malava as you could imagine it is in Bungoma. And so it is going to be a playground between UDA and probably DAPK Kenya. So whoever is going to come out of that as a winner is going to have some bragging right and tell Kenyans that, Western still belongs to us.
How would you advise the government? Because what you're saying is that the opposition is so strong, the ground is shaky. But don't you think that we have areas where the government is still admired, appreciated, and supported?
2022, close to 1 million young people finished their KCSE exams. Those people are over 18. 2023, same story. 2024, same story. At least, even without imagining of the others who never went to high school, we have a minimum of 3 million young people who deserve to participate in the electoral process as it is right now. I think before we even speak of by-elections, what IBC should be doing right now is voter registration. Because we want this minimum, and I'm saying minimum of 3 million young people. Of course there are more. And wale walimaliza high school tunajua juu tunamalizanga na 17, 18, 19 years.
Yeah.
Those ones need to be given a chance to participate, and especially in those particular constituencies. Hata kama wataanza voter registration na Banisa, Malava, those areas where we have lost members of parliament, so that the young people who are there have a chance to determine who is going to be their legislator between now and 2027. That is extremely important. But now moving on to the by-elections. From where I sit, I think the first thing about these by-elections is not even the fact that they exist. It is the fact that IBC has received 4 petitions of people who've already collected more than 30% of signatures in their constituency, starting with Kabete here. And they want to recall their members of parliament. Kikuyu wameanza kuokota signatures. Sijui wamefikisha wapi. But huko nasikia watu wanasaini haraka sana. Hizo zitajaa haraka sana zipelekwe kwa IBC. I think by the time we are hitting those by-elections, there shall be more than 10. There shall be more than 10 constituencies that we shall have presented their papers seeking to recall their members of parliament. Now, of course, parliamentarians had thought that by refusing to pass an act of parliament to provide for how that will happen, that they have stifled the process. I have good news and bad news for them.
Start with the good news.
The Constitution of Kenya 2010 tells us that it does not matter whether you parliament pass it or not. It is our right to recall our member of parliament. And now we are within season. 2 years are over, and then we are still within time because you cannot recall a year to the election. So we are within at the right time. And we are telling IBC tukiwaletea majina musitusumbue. Because young people are telling you mukitusumbua, tutaanda maandamano ya kusema IBC must go.
Yeah.
So we don't want to get there. Give Kenyans their right. The least you can do is allow them to go back to the ballot and see, because if these members of parliament are so popular and they keep telling us they are popular juu wanafanya empowerment ya kutupea maharagwe tugurume tumbo, why don't they just now come and test their maharagwe to see if it is working?
Yeah.
And the best way is to give us a by-election.
The ideal situation should be that we should have recalls for those MPs, because the law on recall, the elections, the electoral act is very, when you be found to have broken the chapter 6 of the constitution. There's no MP that can tell me that he has not broken that chapter 6 of the constitution, although I always feel that chapter 6 was dead since 2013, when we allowed President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto to run for presidents and deputy presidents while they were facing ICC charges. Because then how do you stop me? Because Gachagua will ask, why do you want to stop me for being impeached here, and the process has not been finished to Supreme Court, and yet you allowed President Uhuru Kenyatta to run when he was facing much serious charges at the ICC. And so I think that decision alone killed the chapter 6 of the constitution. That's why you see Waluke still vying, and said, despite the fact that he has been convicted. You see all those people, you can see Chungwa speaking the way he's speaking about Bishop Dorcas, and still is held as a hero in his constituency. He has gone to, I think, 2 terms without unopposed, or was it 1 term? I think 2 terms, one term unopposed. He was re-elected. There was no opposer. There was no opponent in that. That's how highly he was regarded in his constituency. I don't know if things have changed. I don't know if he's going to go unopposed again. But the fact that he can say whatever he's saying about Pastor Dorcas and still stand up and say he's a leader that has integrity, it just tells you that we have an issue with chapter 6. So there is no any other MP that can tell me that he can pass that test of chapter 6 in the constitution. And so there are reasons to recall those people. Are they going to be called? I doubt, because even just taking disciplinary action against an MP, the parties have tried to recall MPs from their party. ODM has tried several times, but the courts will stop the process. It always winds up into something else, and the term ends. There is no recall. So I really doubt that within the term of this 13th parliament that we are going to see MPs being recalled.
Wamunyoro alienda majuu na akasema Mount Kenya timiliacha kuinvest kwa sababu ya government. Hiyo ni political rhetoric kama hiyo ni something substantial.
I need to tell Obuya that there was a petition number 209 of 2016, and it was on the recall of MPs. MPs had tried to come up with a very interesting story before court just to justify why they should stay for the whole 5 years. The court said that was nonsense and it was superfluous. It tells you therefore that if we rely on that case, sisi kuna watu tuna recall na kuna watu tunapeleka nyumbani. This will be forced. We don't need an act of parliament. It is provided for in the constitution, and our courts will interpret it in our favor, because our courts have gotten to a point where they are also saying now we have to do the right thing. I was in court yesterday when we were defending Boniface Mwangi, and the courts seem to appear hata ile nini walimrelease on a personal bond of 1 million, which basically means Boniface is paying nothing. Yani court imekaa hivi imeona hata hii ni upuzi. This is just rubbish. It's utter nonsense. It should not be before us. And that's why I'm telling you, recalling our MPs, we will do it. We will do it because it's in the constitution. We have done signatures. 4 constituencies have submitted. IBC has received. Wajaribu kukataa kuverify hizo signature. Watatuambia wana exist kufanya nini. Kenyans have gotten to the place where they are telling you, we don't care about these other stupid small laws you're telling us about. We know the supreme law of the land allows us to recall our MP. And if you don't, we shall go to court. And we shall take that IBC to court. Me, I have 5 cases against this administration. I won one. Our rivers in Dagoretti were being taken by some funny people who thought they can come and take 60 meters into our land. Hata hii vita tutapigana. We will recall these MPs because we have a constitution and because we have a court in this country. About Rigiji, I remember one funny MP saying that shida ya Kenya imetoka imeenda. Sasa hakuna mtu atakuwa nasumbua wa Kenya. Rigiji is in the US. And the bulk of the people here are still talking about Rigiji. Rigiji is this thorn in the government of Kenya that disturbs them when they are sleeping, when they are awake, when he's in... Unajua US akiongea usiku huku ni mchana. Huku mchana kule ni usiku. But still, whatever Rigiji says, even when they are sleeping, disturbs them the following morning. In fact, his opposition leader, even when he is away, I have not seen them not find a way to respond to whatever he says. That tells you something. There's something about being in power and having power. Rigiji is not in power, but he has power. He's a powerful person. These guys are in power, but they are powerless. They are useless. They keep referring to someone they impeached who said they said will be forgotten from a small village called Wamunyoro that they said is nowhere on the map of this country. So there's no use of being in power and you're powerless, and you're having a conversation about a person who is not in power and he's powerful.
Yeah.
People have refused to invest in this country, and they will continue to refuse to invest. If half of what you bring out goes into taxation, and it's not just Kenyans, how many people have come here willing and hoping to give money, to start a company, to start a factory, to start something?
Yeah.
Wanasumbuliwa wanajipata Kigali because doing business here is close to impossible. So let us work hard to accept that this administration has lost it and they're on their last legs.
Okay, but Wamunyoro was in government a while back before he was impeached. Na hatukuwaisikia akirezi hizi issues zote. Hizi issues alianza kutoboa, hizi alianza kutoboa venye alitolewa kwa power. When he was in power, why was he not critical of the government?
Let me tell you, and people need to understand one thing. This morning I was listening to you as I was coming here.
Yeah.
And you have a very deep understanding of the Bible with Apostle Chebaibai as well. You have a very nice understanding of the Bible, and you there is a guy called Saul who turned into Paul.
Yeah.
When he was Saul, he really persecuted Christians.
Yeah.
When he received his Damascus moment and became Paul, he wrote more than half of the New Testament. In fact, he converted more people to Christianity than he had ever persecuted and killed. Rigathi Gachagua can be compared to Paul now. That there was a time when he was on the government of Ruto's side, he was a Saul, he was persecuting Kenyans. But after he left and he experienced his Damascus moment, Rigathi Gachagua will write more chapters in the book called The Removal of Ruto than any other person will ever write in the history of this country. And he's writing those chapters even when he's away. Unasikia barua ya Paulo kwa Waroma, kwa Wakorintho, kwa Efesayo. Have you ever seen another presidential candidate mwenye ameenda mpaka kucampaign US? And I think he's also going to the UK. He might even end up campaigning in China. You can compare that to the letters that Paul wrote to the various other people. He even wrote to the people of Colossians and the
Corinthians.
Not Corinthians.
Thessalonians.
Okay, whatever. All those people he wrote to them. So Ricky G, in my view, is a Saul who became a Paul. And in his becoming a Paul, has done more in the removal of William Ruto than all those other Pharisees who had existed, who pretended to be fighting William Ruto.
Ricky G is just a typical Kenyan politician. Fanyamabu is just trying to sanitize him.
Because ni boss wake, because anachukia
sanitize him and make him to be a Paul
but he's a typical
Kenyan politician. He's just a John Mbadi who was saying the carry your skunk the other day, and then now he's saying this is the government that we fought for. It's just like Ndindi Nyoro who was here, protecting this government, Kenya Kwanza, and telling President Ruto rule with the iron fist.
Yeah.
Now he's crying and criticizing each and every decision that John Mbadi makes because he's outside the government.
He's in the cold.
It's just a typical Kenyan politician. Opio and I, one time he was banished from parliament for fighting the administration. Right now he's praising this administration like you can't believe.
And he's glowing.
There's just the only good thing about Ricky G is that he has galvanized the opposition, and he has made the opposition believe, because before him and Raila having had that handshake, the opposition was like they didn't have the legs to stand on. That's the only good thing you can say about Ricky G. He has galvanized the opposition, and I think at this time they are believing that, wait a minute, this one term can be a reality. That's the only good thing. And I understand Fanyamamba, because now Ricky G is speaking his language. He's speaking the language of one term, and that's what Fanyamamba has been speaking all through. And so you say it's better being in urinating out than being out urinating in. So to Fanyamamba and the opposition, Ricky G is now in. Now he's trying to mess the outside by messing William Ruto, and that's the only good thing for opposition, lieutenants.